We have just a little time today to develop everybody's unique value proposition. I've taught this thousands of times in over 50 different real estate offices around the country. And I used to lock the door until every single person had a unique value proposition to walk out with. So without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen. Look, even the right screen came up. This is awesome. So find your unique value proposition. That is a book that I wrote all about finding your unique value proposition, primarily as an agent. So I'm going to share with you a few things in the book today. I'm going to be going through quite quickly because I believe I've got between 20 and 30 minutes. So it's going to be a very fast go through. Obviously, screenshot pages you're interested in. There's my background. You just had all of that, really. So we'll scoot on from that. So why is it important right now? So back in 1860, a good old guy called Clément Juglar, a French economist, set up the economic cycle. The economic cycle, of course, the housing cycle follows. And we all remember, or many of us remember that are old enough, what happened in 2007 when I got my real estate license. So I used to be a management consultant, so I've always tracked headlines. These pink ones on here are the headlines that happen at the top. Euphoria, yay, our house is going to be our pension. And then as it crests, if we look at 2003, most areas in the country crested somewhere around Christmas. The next one we go into is denial. Oh no, there's not going to be a recession. This has been happening since 1860. It's a 7 to 11 year cycle. The last cycle was 14 years. This is a great, and I will share this with any of you. This is a great diagram to use with your sellers for obvious reasons. And of course, you can also share it with your buyers as long as you learn to explain it in the right way. So more now than ever, it's so important that you set yourself apart from the other tens of thousands of agents that joined in the last few years, because we know everybody thinks that real estate is easy, and 83% have gone in the first 3 years. So very, very important to set yourself apart. So what is it about? We all go out and we present our listings, our buyer presentations, and we have template presentations or things that say, we negotiate really well. We take professional photos. We used to say we put it in real estate media books, and now we don't. We say we put it on 300 websites. Those are what I call givens. So what is it that sets you apart that is not a given, what you'd expect from any professional real estate agent? Here's the UVP test. So question one, and most of your competitors, not all of them, are 80% of them saying the same thing. Do they say, in other words, 300 websites? Yes, we know that's right. Right. So do they say professional photos? Do they say drones? Keep going, you know, all the same old things. If the answer, if it does not pass that, i.e., if most of them are offering what you think is your unique value proposition, it does not pass. So once it does pass, the second question is, do your customers even give a darn about this thing? So then how do you use it? These are the givens. So honestly, these are from thousands of classes, and I wrote down, people would put their hands up and say, this is my unique value proposition. This is in order from thousands of agents. Place the listing on the MLS within 24 hours, price it properly, great looking sign in the yard, secure lockbox, negotiate better, make recommendations for staging the home. We all say that. That is not a unique value proposition. That's a given. Everybody got kind of depressed at this point in class, and then we'd go on to say, okay, how can we do it? So here's some natural affinity audiences. Geography, where have I lived? You all know that if you're from Chicago and you get on the phone and you're not in Chicago, maybe you're in Texas, and you say, hey, I grew up in Chicago, immediately you're the agent of choice. It makes no sense whatsoever, but it's the case. And you all know what I'm talking about when you get on the phone and you connect through geography. So how do you use that? Work experience. People say things like, I had one that said, I'm a music teacher, I'm 50 years old. We left the music business. We got tired of teaching in New York. And I just don't know how to parlay that into real estate. And we built out a whole UVP around that. And you always want to follow the money. So for example, for them, all the music shops, all the schools that had music programs, go on and on and on. Anything where the money goes, go meet with those people and go meet with them on a monthly basis. What hobbies and interests do I have? Maybe you like mountain biking. You probably take lots of pictures. If you do, you're posting them all over the place anyway. Let's actually turn that into a blog or a YouTube channel. Your cultural heritage. That I also extend that to sort of overlaps with geography. It could be New York. If you've got people coming into your market from New York, what do New Yorkers like? Talk the New York language. What languages do I speak? I normally get Spanish, Chinese, German, French, and then I ask, so which one of you is blogging in your native language? And I've never found one person in literally thousands of agents that do. Because they say, well, that will turn people off who don't speak French or Spanish. It actually won't. Nobody Googles, give me an agent that does not speak Spanish. It just doesn't happen. So we're going to scoot through these. If you want to take screenshots and you're interested in geography, you're welcome to. Of course, these are all directly from the book telling you how to use it. There's Christopher up there with his fish. Hobbies and interests, work experience. I had a great, well, I get a lot for some reason, a lot of ex-dental technicians. Oh my gosh, you've got 20 dentists within 15 minutes drive time. You speak dentist language. Go into the dentist. Gosh, guys, I used to work in a place like this. Give them a pile of your cards. Ask to speak to the dentist. Do some co-marketing with them. You can do it with absolutely anything. Cultural heritage is a great one. Maybe you come from a Greek family. Maybe you don't speak Greek. What about all the Greek cultural events? What about stores that sell Greek food? What about Greek restaurants? Go build your tribe. Familial status. I had a 21-year-old in class who, it's like, I'm still living with my mom. How many 21-year-old buyers do you think are out there that are living with their mom? Talk about it. There's all kinds of challenges when you live with your parents or you're down in the basement, and how you get to become that first-time buyer. So everyone has this within them. Real estate, this is this one always blows me away. What do you love to sell? What do you specialize in? If so, can I look at Bob Smith and historic homes, and will you come up? It's very simple, guys. It can be a YouTube channel, blog, vlog, whatever you want it to be. This is something you love already. It could be condos. How do I find out you specialize in it? Again, the objection is people won't come to me. People don't Google, give me the real estate agent that doesn't do oceanfront homes. They don't, I promise. It will just capture that niche market for you. And this doesn't take a huge amount of effort, because you're already doing it. You already know about it, and it's something you love. And when it's something you love that you're selling, you've heard this a million times before, it gets real easy to sell it. I'm going to scoot through these because we just don't have time. Sorry. So when I started out, there's a whole section in the book about it. I was a very miserable agent. It was the end of 2006. I was up here on my own. I just moved up from Miami. I was actually told by the real estate company that I worked for at the time that I talk funny, and I was going to find it very hard to get on in real estate because I had no sphere of influence. That's how I joined, and I still joined the company. It was very strange. And over time, that first year was miserable. I did 42 deals. I didn't know what I was doing. Nobody was helping me, straight out of the gate. And remember, this is 2007 when everything was crashing. So bit by bit, what happened was I couldn't understand why a third of deals were falling apart. I didn't know it was that many at the time, but over time I've tracked it across the nation. It's a third of deals fall apart. From that came certified pre-owned listings. From that came the love it or leave it guarantee. That came from a guy who bought a home with me, and then 3 months later his father got sick in Arizona and he had to sell the house. And I thought, well, this really sucks. And that turned into the love it or leave it guarantee. If you buy it and you don't want it within 6 months, we'll sell it for free. Now imagine what that does. Put your hand up if you have people coming in from other areas of the country. Maybe they don't know Phoenix, for example, Ronnie, but maybe they know Phoenix, they're coming to Phoenix, but they can't afford Phoenix and they don't know all these little towns surrounding. And you want them to go to a little town surrounding because it gives them everything they need. The love it or leave it guarantee is a way to push them off the fence. And by the way, in all these years, I've never had to use it. Twice I've had to use it, and they're like, oh, we can't take your money. Don't worry about it. It's a great way to give those buyers peace of mind, and sellers love it too, because you can say, that's how we attract more buyers. Program of giving. I did Homes for Heroes for a very long time. Now I do it on my own. Teachers, police, firefighters. I'm missing some. Veterans and active. we give them 25% back of our commission. It's a huge lock-in for anybody in those. We've given back over $800,000. I'm currently 3 people. That's a lot of money. CPO, I'm going to go into a bit more detail about. I'm going to give you plenty of time for questions on this. Listing storyboard, that's something I allowed Zillow to use, stupidly, where they go seller says. Listing storyboard's much more intense than that. I realized I couldn't say things like, there's a church down the street or a synagogue, or walk around the neighborhood, you know, ADA compliance, all that kind of thing. So this is a very simple Google form. Actually, it's an interview with the sellers where they can say anything they want. And there's a walking tour video on there as well. Walking tour videos, I've done one on every home I've ever listed since I started. We have followers on YouTube. I teach people how to do them. I just don't understand why every listing agent doesn't take their camera and do a walking tour video. I hope you're all doing them because they're killer. Coming soon, we all know about those. That was before we had a local coming soon. We have a radio program that I've had for 12 years that I've hosted that's syndicated. You don't have to do that. You don't have to spend all that money. You can do it on YouTube now. We have priority seller and buyer programs, all these things, all-star divorce program. We just developed a system that help people see that if they're going through a divorce, oh, I have a program for that. It's not a program to get you divorced, I promise. So I developed a whole run of programs. They're also in the book and how to do them with all the scripts and all the reasons, objections that I've heard from agents on why it's so hard to do. I thought a good thing to do would be to delve into one in more depth. So I'm going to do that with certified pre-owned homes. So cpoexperts.com, I launched in 2013. CPO came about because I was so miserable when my deals were falling apart. How can I do this differently? It started with the appraisal because I was doing a lot of marketing, and it sounds so stupid now. In my first year, I was getting so many listings that I couldn't handle them. And of course, many weren't selling. It's 2007. So what I thought I'd do is, oh, I'm going to get an appraisal. That means I've got the value. I'm lazy. I don't have to do a CMA. I've got it all fully measured and everything that I need on there. So I'd call sellers and say, yeah, absolutely, I'll meet with you. And you need to do the appraisal first. I thought that would cut out about 50%, but it would get the people who would put skin in the game. And instead, it ended up doing the opposite. And everybody was saying, oh, that's unique. Yes, absolutely. It was a unique value proposition. So then I added the inspection. I just didn't understand why CPO cars have a 156-point inspection and they're $20,000. And we put a house on the market that's $500,000, $1 million, and it's not inspected. And then everything falls apart a third of the time when the inspection comes in, or they ask for $5,000, $10,000. I just had a repair request for $29,000 for my random seller that decided not to do the inspection. Offering a home warranty, that's the trifecta. It's just a very, very different way to sell a home. If you're interested in this, you can see cpoexperts.com. We've got 300 people who have learned how to sell their listing as CPO. Guys, it's such a fantastic way to set yourself apart as a listing agent when you're calling on that. You know, I sell a lot of listings. Well, so does the next person, the other 4 people that are calling them that morning on the expired. Just a great way to set yourself apart. There's a whole toolkit on there. This is Roy Determan in Winston-Salem. So she markets herself as the exclusive CPO expert. And what's different about it? 40 plus items on the repair request, average credit 7,500. It's probably more than that now. In a CPO, it's pre-inspected. We actually share the inspection notated with the seller with the person who puts the offer in. What does that mean? It means that when it turns into a contract, much less likely to drop out. Not only that, I've honestly never had one that said, oh no, we won't go ahead. We say, listen, we took the price into account based on all the things that are on here. We just want to see it before it turns into a contract. The contract doesn't drop out, which means that you don't have a stigmatized listing and every agent calling you going, my client's wondering what's wrong with that house. So really, it just takes the stress out of it. Nobody's on tenterhooks waiting when the inspection's about to be done, like I am on my personal home now. So that's CPO for you. You can also do team value proposition using many of the ideas that I've shared with you already, but these are my 5 buckets for team value proposition, leads, admin support, training and coaching, culture, future opportunity. This is a great thing to do with your team. Has anybody got a team that's listening today? Okay, so a whole bunch of you. This is a great thing to do with your teams. Again, I'll share the form with you. So you want your whole team to be able to talk about these things. And this is the discussion. It's just a simple spreadsheet. You can screenshot it if you want. We put all their names across the top of the team. We get them to score them. So we're scoring leads. What's the quality of the leads you're getting? What's future opportunity? What are your expansion opportunities? What are your coaching opportunities? Does your team give you a career ladder? What's the culture within your team? How would you score that out of 10? What's your training and coaching like? What's your admin support like? And surprise, surprise, at the end of it, what we do is we use the lowest score. Team leaders are always so shocked by this. We use the lowest score and we work on that. So that was a ridiculously fast go through. Who's got some questions? And I did that because I wanted you to jump on pieces that you wanted me to go into more detail about. Any questions?
Are we muted?
No, we're on.
Or we're good. Rowena,
Hey.
that was so good, so good. You guys unmute yourselves and let's ask Rowena some questions, because I know that I see my team writing copious notes already. Things
Yeah.
like
Hey, Rowena, it's Joe Carteret. Can you hear me okay?
Hey, Joe, how you doing?
I'm well, and I hope that you are as well. Sorry, GPS in the background. Mary's driving, and I'm holding on.
It's a great shirt, by the way, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you. I thought that it went with the weather and maybe a drink this afternoon. But anyways, thank you for presenting today. All interesting stuff. I actually just came back from Lead Up, and one of the things that we really dug into during my time with Jeff Lover last week was we talked a lot about value proposition. So this was perfect timing because, I'm starting to kind of visualize where I'm going as I'm digesting the notes and kind of starting to put that into chewable bites for my team and go into action mode. So I would love to dive a little deeper into this. So I don't know if there's a file you mentioned you were welcome, you're able to share, but anything as far as a resource that you're able to provide us. I like the spreadsheet that you have pulled up here and kind of the way that you were breaking that down for your team to get them thinking differently and deeper about it. But thank you. I just want to come on and thank you for presenting. And this is all fantastic stuff. And I was taking screenshots with my iPad of, especially around the different ways that you are marketing those listings as buyers in a different way, getting them on the hook, if you will. So totally makes sense with these programs. Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, and guys, this is recorded, and of course will be in our library in the guides up at the top in our Freedom Builders Facebook group, because we record all of these, and that's why, because we run through them very quickly. Rowena could teach a 3-hour class on this, but I think everybody should go out and buy the book, number one. That way they'll have all the scripts, like you said, Rowena, and all the graphs and charts, and now that she's a part of our network, maybe she'll do a class in Asheville. We could all drive down to Asheville and come and visit her and do some events. So who else has a question for Rowena? What are the key takeaways from this morning from her presentation before we move on to Mark and towards the end of the mastermind? Anybody else want to share?
Real quick, it's Brandon. Sorry, just real quick, the client you were talking about that didn't choose to do the CPO, what was their kind of pushback? Was it just the upfront cost of doing an inspection up front?
Well, I had 2 last year. Both of them were over 700,000. One was 800,000. They were getting a divorce. And he's like, to heck with it. I'm paying everything. I'm not paying more money. He was 800,000. We had a cash buyer, actually somebody on my team, at $800,000, got the inspection, they pulled out. 6 months later, he took a loan offer for $100,000 less. The next one just said, I've sold a lot of houses. I don't need to do this. 750. He was sort of, it's a great house, but out in, can I say BFE? Out in the middle of nowhere. And the contract dropped out 3 times. Eventually we got him a contract, but the misery of it dropping out, and everybody saying, what's wrong with it? Again, primarily because of the inspection. Yeah. So it's just, and I sold 44 homes, like just listings. I only do listings, 43, something like that, 46. and just 2 of them didn't do CPO. When you explain it in the right way, and there's 4 pages of script in the book, which I'd happily share with any of you. I'll just send you a link to it. Just reach out to me. I'm real easy to find on the internet, or Real Estate News Radio on Instagram. When you learn to explain it in the right way, you know, when you think the average repair request is $5, $10, $15,000, they spend $500 on an inspection and then disclose items or fix the easy ones. In most markets, you can do that as a handy person or do it yourself. When you're under contract, in most markets around the country, you need a licensed contractor and you're over a barrel. So the amount of money that saves alone, never mind the stress when you get to explain it in the right way, that most people just understand. And they say, the amount of people that say to me, that's a no-brainer, is unbelievable. It's very cool.
Yeah, nowadays, you know, with the North Carolina Real Estate Commission, you know, they're talking about material facts and how we have to over disclose, and how even if somebody fixed something, a seller fixed something, but we know about it and there's documentation that it was fixed, they still want us to disclose that. It's gotten so litigious lately with these high due diligence fees that are non-refundable, that I think this is a perfect opportunity to say, I've done my work, I've got the inspections, here's what we're disclosing. And I think it gives that buyer confidence, you know, confidence to move forward.
Well, and I want you to think about, you know, I think you'll all agree that prospecting for sellers is much harder than prospecting for buyers.
Agreed.
So imagine being able to market yourself as the CPO expert.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely different, and people get it. And many people are very proud of their home and they want to market. That's why all these people are waiting to get ready. You know, they wait to get ready to paint the wall or whatever. So when they hear about the inspection, they go, oh, that's a great idea. You'd be really surprised. It's really not that hard. And when you tie in, you know, this could save you tens of thousands of dollars, not to mention the stress or the stigma of a listing that falls out. And you explain what that means, that they get it. It's not a hard sell at all, unless they're absolutely broke. I've had broke sellers that put it on their credit card because they're going to be even more broke when the repair request comes in, especially now we're in a declining market. Remember what I shared in the beginning. Again, I can share this with you as well, that when you show this to your sellers, depending on your market, whether you've peaked or not, most markets have, even though they're kind of flat and bumpy. 7 to 11 years, guys, this has been going on since 1860. So I don't know why there's all those agents going out there going that there isn't going to be an economic cycle this time. It's been happening since 1860, you know, and this is a great one to be able to explain it to your sellers. So, and you say to them, listen, hold the home. I totally get it. You're just dipping. I have one right now that's 625, should be 550. I said, listen, I totally get it. Here's the thing. Hold on to the house for 10 years. They're 55. Do you think they want to be moving at 65? No, the kids have already left and gone to college. Like, hold it for 7 to 11 years. That's the cycle. Sell it now, and, or, you know, we'll help you become a landlord, rent it out and move on. So there's your 3 choices. I'm not forcing you to sell at all. Absolutely hold out. I'll keep you appraised to the market. 3.5 to 5.5 years statistically will be at the bottom of the market. So I don't want you to think about not selling now and then in 2 or 3 years at the bottom of the market. 3 to 5 years statistically, think about selling, because last time around we lost 30%. Even if we lose 10%, you're going to lose about $100,000. So let's get you out now. It just makes sense to them. They're asking you to do it. And when you tie that in with CPO to get them out fast, it's real easy.
Patrick, you had a question. Oh, unmute yourself. Lower left corner. Oh, Patrick. Who else? As Patrick is unmuting himself. Anybody else have?
I was sorry. I was multitasking. You guys listening. I was going to ask Rowena what she's found her percentage to be after, compared to the 30% dropout. What does she find CPO dropping out now that she's doing this?
Good question, Patrick. Thank you. 7%. So on average, it's a 7% dropout. I always say to them, I'm working on my magic wand. I can't make them all not drop out, but buyers do silly things before it closes sometimes. But you go from 33% dropout on average, which is incredible. No agents quote that. Start quoting it if you're going to do CPO. 33% dropout to 7% dropout. Imagine your life as a listing agent. It's way better, I'm telling you.
I love it. I love it. Anybody have a final question for Rowena? Because we're going to move on to my buddy Mark Z, talking about ISAs. And obviously we'll leave some room for questions at the end. Rowena, thank you. That is amazing.
Could I ask one thing?
Oh, please go ahead, Trevor.
Could you put slide 22 back on for the with the blue? I just wanted
That
to
one?
show that. Yeah, the CPO. Thank you. That was all I had.
Have a look at cpoexperts.com. All of this is copied off there, basically.
Thank
It's a website that is seller facing, so sellers can understand what CPO is about. It's so that the 300 people we've got doing it all over the country, and it's just exclusive to one zip. You can copy it and do it yourself, of course. But there's 300 around the country, so those sellers can find the agents that are using this process, and it explains the process to them.
I think Marty does this CPO in our area. She probably bought all the zip codes, Rowena, so.
She may well have, yes. Marty Hampton
May
does.
well have, that's right. We'll have to see. But this is great. I mean, it is a great value proposition, and that's the thing. What makes us unique is, you know, we all do about the same thing, so we have to figure out what makes us different when we're out there getting interviewed 2, 3, 4 different times. So this is wonderful. I can't wait to dig in even more. Joe said he bought 6 of your books, so that said there were 10 left on Amazon. I'm sure Rowena has a stack of them in her closet somewhere, and there's more. That's her unique value, is buy these 10 because they're going to be sold out, but I'm sure there's more on Amazon. So yeah, get your book. I know we're going to go grab it so we can have it, and we're just so glad that you're part of our organization. You know, people would be foolish not to partner with you here at our amazing company, and I can't wait to help you grow even more. So welcome to our organization, Miss Rowena.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, all right. So wonderful. We've got Mark Z. I see you there, Mark. So Mark, you know, I didn't know Mark before I joined eXp Realty 4.5 years ago. I knew of him, but I didn't know him as personally, and we've grown close through the past 4 years, helping each other with our branding and marketing. And I've learned so much from him, especially on the investment side. Mark has had 400 properties that he's owned and condensed those, and now he's into all these different investments. So he's our investment guru. But for those that don't know Mark, he has been in the industry for a long time. I think now over what, 15, 20 years, Mark?
Not going to tell you.
Not going to tell me. Okay, well, I'm going to guess definitely 15 years or more, but he's sold over 6,000 homes and amassed over $1 billion in real estate. He began his career by bartending, and that was one of his first jobs, waiting tables. And after layoffs, his aunt convinced him to pursue a career in real estate. And within 2 years, he could quit his bartending job. But he doesn't have a lot of hobbies because work is his hobby, but he does support multiple charities each year, especially the American Cancer Society, which you sponsor for your family. And you've raised recently over $18,000 because you've lost, unfortunately, multiple people to cancer. And you yourself had your own brush with death, which has changed your perspective in life. So you do love giving back and encouraging people to just be their best selves. And he is a giver. You know, you wouldn't think he's shy, but he is shy. So we push him out of his comfort zone, making him talk all the time, and he's great at it. So friend, thank you for contributing to our mastermind today and spending your time with us. So the floor is yours on why I should hire an ISA as a team leader and as an individual. You run a big team that's going to sell, I think, 1,000 homes this year. So talk to us about ISAs.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Tina. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I've been in the business 20 years. I got in when I was 5 years old. It's been a hell of a run. It's gone by, gosh, it's gone by so fast. But you know, me and Tina have, although we never met until we got into EXP, I feel like I've known her for years and years. She's one of those people that, you know, once you meet her once, you feel like you've always known her. We've got such similar backgrounds. I can't believe that I've never ran into her because we basically built our organizations in the same manner. We've had the same coach, probably had many of the same coaches, but you know, what built our business was Mike Ferry organization. I owe everything to Mike Ferry. He changed my life when I met him. I took a leap of faith and got in that industry, and you know, got on the prospecting train of expired listings and for sale by owners. And you know, if you're gonna stay relevant in this business, one way or another, you've got to prospect. I mean, the good news is nowadays there's so many different ways of prospecting, you know, through text messaging and social media, and all these different mediums that we never had back in the day. You know, for us, it was, you know, you get on the phone and you either called expired listings for sale by owners, or you did open houses, or maybe floor time, you know, but one way or another, you've got to be prospecting for new business every day. So I started off, you know, my third year in the business when I met Mike Ferry. I started off prospecting 10 to 12 hours a day. I know it sounds crazy. I can't even get my agents to prospect an hour a day now, but literally 10, 12 hours. I mean, that's all I did after I met Mike. Was I was on the phone literally all day long. I was either on the phone or I was at an appointment. Literally, that was my job every day. I'd get in by 7 in the morning. I'd print off all the expires and FSBOs. At 7:30, I'd start role playing for 30 minutes with a couple guys in the office or some guys across the country. And then at 8 a.m., it was me and Jeff Glover. We'd get on the phones and, you know, we'd cheat and start calling at like 7:57 or 7:58, just to, you know, be the first one to call, because you got an advantage if you're the first one, you know, to say that script, because we both use the same script, you know. I know Tina did the same thing. And people today, you know, say, oh, I don't like that script, and, you know, that's not me, you know, I want to use this script. And, you know, everybody changes the script a little bit, but it all originated from Mike. And so I used to literally do this 10 to 12 hours a day. And from that, you know, I built an organization that, you know, now will sell 1,000 homes. We've sold over $1 billion with an average price point of $250,000. So we're not selling like, you know, luxury homes. It's just a lot of homes. But, you know, eventually you get burnt out of that prospecting, right? It's hard to grind that out every day, all day. So eventually I started hiring inside sales agents, ISAs, and I started mentoring them and getting them to do what I didn't want to do all day, every day. I winded down. So I wasn't doing it 10, 12 hours a day. I was doing it maybe 5, 6 hours a day. And then, you know, 3, 4 hours a day. And now, you know, we've got, probably about, well, we got as high as about 17, 18 ISAs. I think now we're down to about 10 to 12. But we'd like to ramp back up. But that's where the money's at. You know, people always ask, you know, how do I build a team? You know, where do I start? And I've seen all different strategies on what your first hire should be. I personally think your first hire should be an inside sales agent. Some people think it should be an administrative assistant, but what's your administrative assistant going to do if you don't have business, right? I mean, first you've got to have someone who's generating business. It's either yourself or you and an ISA, or, you know, an ISA or multiple ISAs. Somebody's got to be generating or bringing in business. You know, it's always hilarious to me that, you know, everybody's a team now and everybody starts a team, but yet they don't even, a lot of people don't even have enough business to feed themselves. Yet they have this idea that they're going to start a team, and the team is going to generate enough business to feed them and to feed the team leader and themselves. But I feel like if you can't even generate enough business for yourself and your teammates, it's going to be difficult getting them to respect you and do what they need to do if you can't even do it yourself. So I just believe in leading from the front. And so either you're going to do it or you're going to have to hire inside sales agents to do it in order to feed your multiple team members that you're going to hire. So the first step in building a team, I think, should be inside sales agents. Even if you're doing it yourself, no reason why you can't hire additional inside sales agents to do it alongside you. We pay inside sales agents a small base salary of $25,000 a year. And then in addition to that, we pay them either a 5 or a 10% commission on closed sales. 5% if it's an incoming lead, a lead that came into our company, and 10% if they outbounded call, meaning an expired listing for sale by owner, something that, you know, we didn't bring into the company. It didn't land in our database. So they'll get 10% on that. Average ISA makes about anywhere from 60 to 75,000 a year. We've got some that make, you know, right around 6 digits. You know, between 90 and 100,000 a year is about where they tap out. You know, the biggest challenge is you've got to mix it. You've got to you've got to make it interesting every day, right? Either you're the ISA manager or you've got to have an ISA manager, someone that makes it exciting every day, because you get burnt out. You know, you can't expect these people to be on the phones 8 hours a day. You know, at most they're on the phones 1.5 to 2 hours before we have a 15-minute break. So it's constant breaks. You know, out of an 8-hour day, we probably get maybe 6 hours of talk time between, you know, all the 15-minute breaks, the lunch break. You know, we try to mix it up, do some role playing throughout the day, or maybe watching a motivational video, you know, something to break it up. But you're not going to get 8 hours a day, 8 hours of calling. That'd be, you know, awesome, but you're probably not going to get it. And I don't think what else, but that's it in a nutshell. That's how our program works, and that's how we built this organization. You know, we still have ISAs to this day. They're making calls every single day. You know, now we've got enough leads that come in that they're mostly calling the leads in our database that we already have. They probably spend about an hour a day calling expired listings and FSBOs. Those are the hardest and most skilled calls to make. You've got to be skilled. So usually we start off new ISAs on our leads that we already have, or just sold calls. Just sold, we find, are the easiest calls to make, because you're calling, you're bragging that you just sold a home, and then you're maybe giving the neighbors information on the home you just sold, which they're all interested in hearing about, because they all want to know, you know, what their neighbor's property sold for. So, you know, when you first bring on an ISA, I definitely wouldn't throw them to the wolves into expired listings. You know, they could get discouraged pretty fast. So we usually warm them up with just sold calls.
Yeah, so Mark, like where would you say, or let's start, you know, I'm an agent, I've got a small team, I want to hire an ISA. Where would you start with looking for people that have this ability? Because I know I have a couple sources myself that I would use, but where do you guys tend to find people that want to sit on the phones for 4, 5, 6 hours a day?
Yeah, so what we've been doing is, now when we hire people, we tell them that they've got to start off on the phones. That's a great way to filter out whether you even have a realtor that's a viable option for your team, right? If they're not willing to do that when they first get in the business, and I get later, you know, once they've been in the business and they have enough business that they don't want to be on the phones, you know, 4 or 5 hours a day. But just starting off, it's kind of a red flag if you bring a new realtor onto the team and they don't want to be on the phones for, you know, 2, 3, 4 hours a day. That's a huge red flag to us, because how are they going to survive, right? Even if you're a team and you have a lot of leads, they still got to be on the phones. They got to be filtering these leads. I mean, we only convert, you know, at 4 or 5%. Our best lead source is Zillow Flex, and that's at 7 or 8%. That means 92 out of 100 leads never pan out. So that's one viable option, is to get new agents that join your team to start off as ISAs, and then they kind of graduate, you know, to being a realtor after 6 months or a year. And some of them never graduate because they like the check, right? They like that consistent income, and they're okay with making $50,000, $60,000 a year. As sad as that sounds, a lot of people are okay with that. That's one source. Number two, you could definitely run ads. In our area, you have to be licensed. I don't know how it is, you know, everywhere else in the country. So you could run ads for inside sales agents to all the job postings. And then number three, so we have a combination of inside sales agents in our office, and then we also outsource to offshore. And we use a company called We Clone You. The owner's name is Sam Backey. If you reach out to me, I'll do an introduction if you want. But he charges us $1,000 per ISA. He guarantees them for 90 days. So if you don't like them after 30 days, you can, you know, basically return them. And they cost, you ready for this? $3.75 an hour. And they're very, very happy with $3, because in their country, they make $1, $1.50 an hour. And they're not Philippines. We actually try to shy away from the Philippines. The time zone is completely different. We find that they're only going to call throughout the middle of the night, because it's the middle of the night to be on our time zone for so long. Philippines are also very, very sensitive people. So it just hasn't really worked out. It's weird how different countries have different characteristics that are very common. So a lot of his VAs are like from Brazil and South America, whether it's English is their native language or their second language, I should say. So the English, you know, is pretty good. Like, you know, they've got accents, but not nearly as bad as you'd think. And their time zone is very similar to ours. We're within a couple hours. And like I said, $3.75 an hour. And a lot of them you'll find have experience in calling, in some type of sales. You know, that some of them have sold timeshares. You know, in their country, it's huge. You know, they sell timeshares, so they've got sales experience or they've been on the phones. But for $3.75 an hour, you're talking about $160 a week. Most of you can take a chance with $160 a week. I mean, they can pretty much call all year and get you one lead, and it pretty much pays for itself.
Yeah, I find that, and I used to have a company where we did that. It didn't work out for us because I find that I like to have them understand the market a little bit and know what's going on locally. So that just didn't work out for us. But I like Sam, and we have our amazing you know, VAs through that company. And you're right, the time difference is also a challenge too. So it just depends. I think another way too is, you know, when we were shopping for a car, we were putting in registration or like information, like call me about this car or whatever, and you got bombarded with the car dealership ISAs calling. And
Yep.
so for me, it's like, if I were to pick someone, I would want to try to recruit somebody from that industry, because first of all, there's not a lot of cars to sell. And if they were really good and kept following up and following up and following up, that's the person I'd love to hire, because they've got that tenacity to keep going and trying to hunt for that business. And I'd probably say, hey, I'm looking for somebody just like you. What do you make in that industry? Oh, well, this is what we pay, and try to really bring them over to something that probably is going to be more consistent, because our ISAs are making anywhere between $80,000 and $100,000 a year. That's huge. And we only have 2, and they're rock stars. So yeah, so what other questions do you guys have about ISAs for Mark? Ronnie?
Yeah, I have can you go back over how you split your 5 and 10%, what you're doing with that? On the
Yeah,
commission
so,
split?
yeah, very simple. So if the lead is in our database, that's considered a company generated lead. That means it came in through Google pay-per-click or Zillow or Ylopo, or, you know, so they get 5% because that's a warm lead. It already came in. They get 10% of the commission if they outbound called and that lead was not already in my database. So like an expired listing for sale by owner, just listed, just sold, something that wasn't in my database. I didn't pay to bring that in. Then they get 10%.
That's
Those
great.
are the hardest ones to train. Like, that's where you have to literally sit down next to your ISA and have them hear you on the phones. And I mean, Mark can train on that because he's done it. I can train on that, I've done it. But if you're just like, oh, I hate prospecting and I want to hire an ISA and I'm going to have the ISA learn how to do outbound, it's not going to work. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to train that person if you can't get in the weeds with them and really show them the techniques and how to do it and how to overcome and have the mindset and all that stuff. They could call leads, which I agree. If I'm going to spend $3,000 a month on leads and I'm waiting on agents to call the leads and do that aggressive follow-up, you're burning the leads in the fire. You need to hire leads and an ISA that's going to service those leads and be in front of them and do the tenacity work that it takes, because a lot of these leads are 13 to 14 months in incubation, and they're not going to be quick, you know, come list me or come, you know, buy a home with me.
Yeah.
So
The biggest mistake I see, Tina, is people want to bring in an ISA and they don't want to be the ISA manager.
exactly.
You are the ISA manager until it's big enough or until you can afford to have an ISA manager. You need an ISA manager. Otherwise, these people are going to play you. They're not going to be on the phones. They're going to act like they're on the phones. They know how to play the systems. I mean, I can't tell you how many realtors, how many friends I've had that have started ISA departments and they've gone by the wayside. They can't, because you've got to manage it. It's the hardest, it's the highest turnover part of a team if you're going to have an ISA department or people who are on the phones, you know, they're telemarketers, right? You've got to manage it, or you've got to have somebody managing it. Otherwise, these people will play you.
Yeah, I remember hiring an ISA and I was paying him, you know, whatever it was per hour. And I didn't inspect what I expected. And it was like, oh yeah, I'm making all these calls. And when I went back a month later and looked at the call logs, like how many times he logged into Mojo, it was an hour a day. And I fired them, of course, but you're right. It's like, if you're not staying on that person, it can get easy to just, or, you know, they can get lazy of making the calls and you're just paying somebody for no reason. So it is a really tough job.
Mark,
yes.
do you have a different split with agents who, you know, when your ISA makes the appointment for them, or they make an appointment themselves, do you change the split? And if so, how much?
Absolutely. So that commission, the 5 or 10% comes out of the agent's commission.
Okay.
So there's an incentive if the agent gets to the lead, and the agent has access to all these same leads that the ISAs are calling. So if they get to it and they convert it and they get the appointment before my ISAs do, they save the 5 or 10%. Absolutely.
It's the same as we were doing, except we were paying, everything's exactly the same, except we were paying hourly because, you know, some of them have other jobs, or, you know, they're agents that had only done 2 or 3 deals the year previous, and teaching them to prospect, basically. So paying them hourly instead of the 25.
What I'd like to get to, what I'd like to get to eventually, Tina, is where I pay them per appointment. I know it sounds scary, but if I can get to the point where I can pay them per appointment instead of per closing, I can get them paid a lot faster. And I think the retention would be a lot better. Now, you're saying, you know, how can you, they can just set bogus appointments. Well, if my listing agent goes out on that appointment, that's a real appointment, right? The ISA did their job. I feel like they put them face to face, and now it's my salesperson's job to sell it. If that was a bogus appointment, when they called before they went out on the appointment, because they have to call before they go out and ask them a series of questions, they should have filtered out that that's not a viable appointment. But if they actually go out and meet with the client, I feel like that ISA should get paid. Now, I would change the commission structure. Instead of 5 or 10%, you'd have to work backwards and figure out, okay, what am I paying per listing, based on how many listing appointments did people go on in order to get a closing, and you could figure out what that. So you would change the pay structure. And same with a buyer consultation. Either they're going to get paid on a buyer consultation, or if my buyer agent went out and showed them a home. If they went out and showed them a home, to me, that's a face-to-face appointment. And now it's my salesperson's job to sell that opportunity. ISA did their job. They put my salesperson in front, face-to-face with a client. So ultimately, I'd like to get to that, but you've got to be able to monitor that and watch that very closely. But that would be the way to definitely raise retention, because your ISAs would be getting paid a lot faster, and really for what they're supposed to be doing, and that's putting my salespeople in front of clients.
Yeah, I think Dan and Kyle in San Diego, I think they run that model where it's like per appointment. The biggest, you know, conundrum that they're having is the ISA sets the appointment, the agent says, no, that wasn't a really good appointment. That wasn't a really good appointment. And it's like, then they're fighting over, well, I set the appointment, I get the money, you know, it's like another thing. So we shied away from that. We do the same thing, 5 and 10. Yeah. And they, you know, what I love though is when the agent does, or when the ISA doesn't get paid for the appointment, the ISA actually acts as the recruiter for the appointment, and they're like, hey, did you call that appointment? Did you follow? Like they actually monitor their leads better because they want to get paid, and so they're not just lazy, like, oh, give me my $50 and I'm over it. So I don't know. It depends on the hunger of the person, but I think you're right. There, it could go both ways where it works.
Now, is that on are y'all rotating basis with all your realtors then? Does that just come down the scale of kind of a lottery?
We have certain agents that qualify for leads. And so, yeah, it's in rotation based on floor time. So we have, 2-hour blocks of floor time, and whoever's on floor time during those 2 hours gets the lead. We'll do like warm transfers. Someone's ready to go see a home, or someone wants to sit down for a buyer consultation, or same with listings, and we'll do a warm transfer and send it right to the agent that's on floor.
Tina.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. You have a question.
Who does the admin piece, for example, going around that just sold? Someone has to find those numbers. Do you have admin support, or does the ISA find those numbers?
Our ISAs find those numbers. I'm sure that Mark, yours do the legwork.
Oh yeah.
That's their job. Yeah.
Yeah, different programs. There's Mojo Cells, Vulcan, RedX. That's how they get all the, you can either circle prospect or you can expire its FSBOs. Yeah, so those programs will pull that for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, nothing's perfect, but in when you look at the the 3 L's: lead generation, lead follow-up, and lead conversion. That is the agent's job, but what the agents are really good at is lead conversion. They're terrible at lead outbound and lead follow-up. And so the ISA is there to kind of leverage those first 2 L's, that lead generation and lead follow-up. So the agent can go do what they're great at, which is the rapport building and the relationship building piece of it that they like the most, because most people are relational, and they don't like to do that upfront work. So it's not perfect. It can get messy, but it's a great system if you're buying leads and investing in a team, which is very expensive. So what other questions do we have for Mark?
I have
Or
one.
Rowena at this point. We can open it up to both.
I have one, Tina.
Yes, ma'am.
In regards to the hiring the new agents to be the ISAs, do you have a certain script or, training that you do for them if they have no recent call experience? Sorry, hold on.
Yeah, so I have an ISA manager who was mentored by me. Like I said, I did this for years and years. So yeah, we train them. Don't overcomplicate it. We just use Mike Ferry scripts, plain and simple. The only Mike Ferry script we don't use is a for sale by owner one, because I just hate that opening line that we're doing a survey. So you can Google and find Tom Ferry. There's a million different for sale by owner ones. That's the only one of Mike that we don't use. All the rest we use, we love, and it's just a numbers game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember we did the Jeff Glover model where we hired new agents. We taught them how to be ISAs. We gave them a $2,500 a month, salary or whatever. And by the 3rd or 4th month, it's like by the time they got pretty good being an ISA, they transitioned over to being an agent. And it was like, now I got to start over and start over and start over. So I scrapped that program very quickly and just went to finding really good ISAs that wanted to be in the business for a long time as an ISA. So that ended up working out. We did get our ISAs also licensed, and I think that's an important thing to maybe talk about. Are yours ISAs licensed, Mark, or do you keep them unlicensed?
No, they're licensed. The ones obviously offshore are not. So we have to, we have to watch their scripts, because technically there's only certain things they can say or not say. But the ones here in the US, those ones are licensed.
Yeah. All right, what other questions do we have? What are our key takeaways that you guys are actually going to go implement today? Because having masterminds is fun. Training is like eating cotton candy. Or eating it up and it tastes delicious. But what are we going to action step in the next couple of weeks? Can we take something that you guys are going to go, I'm going to do what Rowena said today? What's 1 or 2 action steps that we've took today?
18-ish, Joe. I think for me, it's, started out with Rowena. I think we're actively working on our value proposition and shifting that, simplifying it, and making it very attractive to where we are now in the market and to who we're trying to recruit. I think the second thing is the ISA. We've been tooling around. I know you and I have talked about that. We've been tooling around, and honestly, it's been a fear of pulling the trigger thing for me for the longest time, because of the desire of, I feel like having a little bit more control over it. So like in-person agents, actually going into the appointment versus the investment into somebody who's doing the prospecting. But I totally get what your point is, because one of the biggest issues we run into is the agent that is going to be aggressive and consistent with the prospecting. And then the follow-up is always where the ball gets dropped. So I totally understand, the point you were making there. So the 2 takeaways is we're going to have an ISA hired within the next 30 days. And then we are going to take from Rowena, and I'm actually going to reach out to her individually and then take that in a whole new level.
Awesome. Well, hopefully you could buy all your Charlotte zip codes from her. She doesn't have a Charlotte agent yet. What else, guys? Let's wrap up with a positive note. What are you going to implement today? Or what got your juices flowing? Thank you for that contribution, Joe. Ronnie?
Oh, mine was Mark hit it right on the nail on the head there. It's having to do the work for the team before you get the team to do your work. I think that's a big thing that I've had. It was coming in just 6 months in, is I remember you saying it took you 6 months to get your shit together. So it feels like that's what I'm doing, is it's just taking time to get my shit together. But Mark, thank you for that. That's just kind of a sticker in that point, and I'll get that done.
I love it. I love it. So I wanted to remind you guys, remember, this is just, you know, our smaller mastermind. Thank goodness Dan and Kyle do the Monday mastermind. They started doing it 1.5 years ago. That is Mondays at 1 o'clock. We have like about 400 or 500 people on that mastermind. So we've, you know, a lot of us definitely attend that one. It's much bigger. This one's much smaller because we just want to get a little more intimate. So with our local East Coast people, but if you're not joining that mastermind, if you're not bringing people to that mastermind, you are missing a big recruiting strategy, because most of my recruits that I have brought to EXP, I bring them to that mastermind and they're like, oh my God, I'm not getting this at my brokerage. And thank you for delivering giving me a seat at this table. And so that is our big mastermind. Our Facebook page, you know, has all of these masterminds, the guides up at the top, they're all there, and in the fast forward movement, all the guides are there, and they actually have VAs that list everything that we've talked about in those Monday masterminds. So you can just go in there and there's a plethora of information. And then of course, we're going to be doing local events like we did for Evolve, a couple weeks ago. So make sure you guys attend those. But thank you guys for joining us today. And Rowena and Mark, I think she just sent me a private message. She had to log off. But thank you guys for participating, and I hope you guys have a good weekend.
Thank you for having me.
Mark, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.